The story opens in the grand hall of a prestigious university where the air hums with scholarly debate and the weight of history. Dr. Evelyn Carter, a brilliant but fiercely independent archaeologist, stands before a rapt audience of academics, her latest discovery projected on a large screen behind her. The image shows a weathered map, its ink faded, but its promise undeniable. A lost tomb, hidden for centuries, rumored to contain an artifact of unimaginable power. Evelyn's voice is sharp with excitement as she lays out her theory. She speaks of ancient texts, cryptic inscriptions, and her own daring research that has led her to this moment. The tomb, she claims, belongs to a forgotten pharaoh, one whose name was struck from history, his burial place deliberately obscured. The artifact within, she argues, could rewrite everything they know about the era. But not everyone is convinced. Among the crowd, Dr. Samuel Hayes, an older and more cautious archaeologist, raises objections. He cites local legends, whispers of a curse, warnings from indigenous guides about a sleeper who must not be disturbed. The room tenses as Evelyn dismisses his concerns with a wave of her hand. Superstition, she says, her smile unwavering. History is uncovered by those brave enough to seek it, not those who fear shadows. The university's board, impressed by her confidence, or perhaps her recklessness, grants her funding for an expedition. As the crowd disperses, Samuel pulls her aside. His voice is low, urgent. "You're digging in the wrong place," he insists. "That tomb isn't what you think it is." But Evelyn, already mentally packing her bags, barely listens. She spent years chasing this moment, and no old ghost story will stand in her way. As the scene closes, we see her alone in her office, tracing the map's coordinates with a fingertip. The camera lingers on a small, forgotten detail, a symbol in the corner of the map, one that matches none of the pharaoh's known seals. But Evelyn doesn't notice. Her mind is already miles away in the desert, where glory or ruin awaits. The scorching sun beats down on a vast, windswept desert as a convoy of jeeps kicks up swirling clouds of dust, carving a path toward the distant cliffs where Evelyn believes the tomb lies hidden. The air shimmers with heat, and the landscape feels timeless, ancient, indifferent, as if watching their intrusion with silent disapproval. Evelyn, dressed in practical but well-worn expedition gear, stands atop a dune, surveying the terrain with a triumphant gleam in her eyes. Her team, composed of a few trusted archaeologists, a skeptical geologist, and a couple of hired laborers, unloads equipment nearby. Among them is Daniel, a young and eager grad student who idolizes Evelyn, and Maria, a no-nonsense survival expert who keeps glancing at the horizon with unease. As they set up base camp near the mouth of a cavernous entrance half buried in the sand, a group of local nomads approaches. Their leader, an elder with deep-set eyes and a voice like dry parchment, warns them in broken English to turn back. "This is not the place of kings," he says, pointing to the dark fissure in the rock. "This is the house of the cursed one. The sleeper does not forgive." Evelyn, ever the rationalist, offers a polite but dismissive smile. She hands the man a few coins for his advice and assures her team that such stories are common near excavation sites, meant to scare away thieves, not scholars. Maria exchanges a wary glance with Daniel, but no one challenges Evelyn. She's the one who got them here after all. As night falls, the team gathers around a crackling fire, maps and notes spread between them. Evelyn traces their planned route into the tomb, her excitement barely contained. The others listen, but the mood is tense. Strange sounds echo from the cliffs, whispers on the wind, or just the settling of stone. Then, a discovery. One of the laborers digging a latrine away from camp uncovers a shattered statue, a grotesque, inhuman face with hollow eyes. He brings it to Evelyn, who examines it under the flickering lantern light. The style is wrong. It doesn't match the era of the pharaoh she's seeking. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crosses her face, but she brushes it aside. Probably a later edition, she mutters, tossing the fragment aside. As the team retreats to their tents, the camera lingers on the broken statue's face, half buried in the sand. Its empty eyes seem to follow them, and deep below, in the darkness of the tomb, something shifts. The pre-dawn air is thick with anticipation as Evelyn's team gathers at the mouth of the tomb, their headlamps cutting jagged beams through the darkness. The entrance yawns before them like a throat of stone, its edges carved with worn hieroglyphs that seem to twist under the flickering light. The silence is heavy, unnatural. Even the scuttle of desert creatures has faded away. Evelyn takes the first step inside, her boots crunching over ancient debris. The beam of her flashlight reveals a descending corridor, its walls covered in intricate but unsettling murals. The paintings tell a story, not of a pharaoh's glorious afterlife, but of something far darker. Figures with hollow eyes kneel before a shrouded entity. Warriors flee in terror as shadows swallow them whole. Daniel lingers on one section, his fingers hovering over a depiction of a priest sealing a tomb, his face contorted in fear rather than reverence. This isn't right, Maria mutters, her voice tight. These aren't burial rites. These are warnings. Evelyn exhales sharply, her breath curling in the cold air of the tomb. Superstition, she insists, though her usual confidence wavers for a fraction of a second. She presses onward, her light catching on a deep groove in the floor, a channel too precise to be natural. Look, drainage, she says, forcing optimism, means the builders expected flooding. Practical, not mystical. But as they move deeper, the atmosphere shifts. The air grows colder, their breath now visible. A faint metallic scent lingers, old blood or oxidized copper, no one can tell. Then a sound, a distant, rhythmic thud, like a heartbeat muffled beneath stone. The team freezes. Just the wind, Evelyn says too quickly, but her knuckles whiten around her flashlight. They reach a massive door, its surface etched with a single repeating symbol, the same one from the map in Evelyn's office. The team exchanges uneasy glances. No one recognizes it. With a deep breath, Evelyn pushes the door open, its groan echoing like a dying breath. Beyond lies the burial chamber. But it is no royal tomb. The walls are lined with jagged, teeth-like protrusions, not decoration, but barbs. The sarcophagus at the center is blackened, its surface scarred with violent scratches, as if something had tried to claw its way out. And at its base, arranged in a perfect circle, are skeletons, not resting in peace, but kneeling, their skulls tilted upward in eternal supplication. For the first time, Evelyn's voice falters. This isn't him. Then, the door slams shut behind them. The echo of the slamming door fades into silence, leaving the team in suffocating darkness. For a long moment, no one moves. Then, one by one, their headlamps flick back on, casting shaky beams across the burial chamber. The light catches the edges of the blackened sarcophagus, making the deep gouges in its surface seem to pulse like veins. Evelyn's hands tremble as she steps closer, her academic curiosity warring with primal fear. The sarcophagus isn't adorned with the royal cartouches she expected, no golden hieroglyphs, no prayers to guide the dead to the afterlife. Instead, Crude, frenzied symbols crawl across its lid, etched in what looks like claw marks. Daniel swallows hard. "That's not a burial script," he whispers. Maria's flashlight jerks toward the skeletons at their feet. The bones aren't ancient. Some still cling to tattered flesh. Their hands are fused together in grotesque knots, as if they died mid-prayer or mid-scream. Evelyn's voice cracks. "We need to leave." But before anyone can move, a sound splits the air, a slow, grating scrape from inside the sarcophagus. The team freezes. The noise comes again, louder. Something is pushing against the lid. The air turns to ice. Their breath mists thickly, and the headlamps flicker. Shadows writhe along the walls, stretching too long, too alive. The scratching grows frantic. Then, silence. A single hairline crack splits the sarcophagus lid, and from within, something laughs. The laughter, dry and hollow, like wind through a canyon of bones, hangs in the air for a terrible, endless second. Then, the sarcophagus lid shudders. Evelyn stumbles back, her heel catching on one of the kneeling skeletons. It collapses into dust, the sound like 1,000 whispered voices sighing at once. The team's headlamps flicker wildly, plunging the chamber into stuttering darkness. Between the bursts of light, the cracks in the sarcophagus spread like spiderwebs. Daniel grabs Evelyn's arm, his fingers digging in. "We have to get out, now!" A deafening crack cuts him off. The lid splits down the middle. For a heartbeat, nothing happens. Then a hand, skeletal, yet impossibly alive, erupts from the fissure. The bones are blackened, the fingers too long, the joints bending in ways that make Maria retch. It claws at the air, then wrenches itself free, hauling the rest of the horror into the open. The thing that rises is not a mummy. It is not dead. It is something older, something that should have stayed forgotten. Its body is a grotesque patchwork of withered flesh and exposed bone, its ribs distended like a carcass picked clean by vultures. Where its face should be, there is only a gaping void, until it opens, splitting vertically down its skull to reveal a maw of needle teeth and a tongue like a rotting serpent. The voice that tears from it is not one voice, but many. The wails of the damned, the whispers of the tomb's long-dead guardians, the last prayers of the skeletons at their feet. "You woke me," it hisses. The headlamps die. Screams erupt. The thing moves, not with the sluggishness of the dead, but with the speed of a predator that has been starving for millennia. Something wet and heavy hits the floor. Someone is sobbing. Evelyn, on her knees, fumbles for her flashlight. When it flares back to life, the beam catches Maria's face, or what's left of it. Her eyes are gone. Her mouth is stretched in a silent scream, and behind her, the thing tilts its head, savoring the terror. Then, the walls begin to bleed. The tomb has become a living nightmare. Shadows writhe like serpents along the bleeding walls, and the air itself feels thick with malice. A suffocating presence pressing down on Evelyn's chest as she scrambles backward, her hands slipping in something warm and wet. Maria's body lies motionless nearby, her face frozen in a rictus of agony. The creature, the sleeper, pays Evelyn no mind yet, its hollow gaze fixed on Daniel, who stands paralyzed in the flickering remnants of his dying headlamp. Then the thing moves. One moment it's crouched over Maria's corpse, the next it's inside Daniel's space, its elongated fingers curling around his throat. His scream is cut short as the sleeper's jaws unhinge, wider than should be possible, and Evelyn doesn't wait to see the rest. She runs. The corridor outside the burial chamber is no longer the same. The walls pulse as if breathing. the murals now twisted into grotesque parodies of their former selves, the figures in them watching her, their painted eyes tracking her flight. The floor shifts beneath her feet, the stone turning spongy like rotting flesh. Behind her, wet, ragged footsteps echo. She rounds a corner and nearly collides with the last surviving laborer, his face streaked with blood. "It's behind us," he gasps, but before Evelyn can respond, the darkness behind him twists. A skeletal hand spears through his chest from behind, fingers curling around his still beating heart. The man chokes, his eyes locking with Evelyn's. She doesn't stop. The entrance is just ahead, the sliver of dawn light a cruel mirage of safety. She can hear the sleeper now, not chasing her, but waiting, its laughter threading through the stale air. The tomb's warnings had been clear. Death shall walk with those who wake me. Evelyn bursts into the open desert, the sun blinding after the tomb's suffocating dark. She doesn't look back. She doesn't stop running until her legs give out, collapsing in the sand miles from the cursed site. But as she gasps for breath, she feels it. A whisper against her neck, colder than the desert wind. "You can't outrun the dead." She turns. The tomb entrance, now far in the distance, is sealed once more, and beside her in the sand, fresh as morning dew, is a single blackened footprint. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.